Hi everyone, welcome back to PopCultX, your go-to for all things pop culture from a Gen X point of view, or as I like to call it, pop culture to the power of X. It's just a little fun tagline that I'm still trying to push across to everyone. Take a moment to acknowledge all those who have sacrificed for our country, for our freedom. So much respect to them for this Memorial Day, and we give thanks to them first and foremost. With that being said, I am happy to be joined by a guest of and friend of the show, and that's David Quiroz Jr., who's been here before. He's the creator of a fantastic killer dog comic book series called Night of the Chihuahuas. So, David, welcome back to PopCultX.
Thank you very much, man. It's so glad to be back, and really, really happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, and especially because I know you guys are currently doing another Kickstarter for issue 4, which I'll put a link in the description. But I think it's just like bit.ly/killerdogs4.
Yeah. We try to make it as simple as possible, but those bit.ly URLs are still tricky sometimes.
They can be, but I will put the link down below. But yeah, David, how's it been going? How's everything been going with Night of the Chihuahuas?
It's been going awesome, man. We had a really great rollout for issue 3, which last time I was on here, we got to discuss that one. And now it's, we had a really quick turnaround. Issue 4 was ready to release to the masses. We've got Eric Ruiz is helping us out with that one, and his art. I can't wait for everybody to see it because his art is phenomenal. He really brings a new energy to the project, and he's going to be helping us out with issue 5, which unless we talk before then, the next time we talk, we'll be talking about issue 5 probably. So, but yeah, man, we've been doing great. We're in over 40 stores right now across 2 countries with plans for many more. So it's been, blood, sweat, and tears, just getting out there, shaking hands, and introducing ourselves. But fan base is growing. We're getting in front of more people. The feedback has been phenomenal. So it's been a really good time.
That's cool. I remember the last time we spoke, you spoke about going to different conventions or shows that were within driving distance of Phoenix for you. But I think you've expanded upon that now from what I saw, like you're going further east. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we're actually going to be, we've got a couple planned that are going to be flights that we're going to have to take flights to get to back east and in the Midwest. And so we're really looking forward to that. I don't want to say which ones just yet, just in case they fall through for any reason. And people are like, hey, dude, you said you were going to be here. What the hell? So, I mean,
where are you at?
I know, right? It's like, dude, I've got my copies here and you're not here.
So how has it been interacting with fans or introducing new people to the series?
That's honestly my favorite part about this, and much love to all of our fans because you are why we're here. But I absolutely love sitting at the booth and having somebody walk past and just like their eyes bug when they see our poster. And how many people come over and talk to me about their Chihuahua or like their Nana's Chihuahua or some Chihuahua that they know and how mean it was. And it's always like a good conversation point. Like how many books have been purchased by people who are not necessarily comic book fans, but who know somebody with a really mean Chihuahua that they want to show this to. And it's been really good time. It's like all of us are out there, man. There's a whole like community of people who were traumatized by angry Chihuahuas as kids, and now we're all growing up and we want to see this, and it's therapeutic in a way.
It is like it's almost like cathartic. Oh yeah, that's what happened. Okay, and these people are removing them from the planet, I guess. So I guess that's good.
I always tell people, man, if you love Chihuahuas, you're gonna love this comic book. If you hate Chihuahuas, you're gonna love this comic book. So it's like there's something for everybody.
That's really cool. So you mentioned we talked about issue 4 in your Kickstarter. I think you guys have reached your goal, which is awesome. I mean, some people don't hit that. So to reach your goal is cool. And I know what they have, Kickstarter has what they call like stretch goals, right?
Yeah.
So additional bonuses for people to keep supporting you. Can you mention any of those stretch goals here?
Yeah, for sure. So we've actually already unlocked the first one, which is and I apologize, I got my notes down here on my phone, but we've got a black and white photo of our Chizilla, or I'm sorry, of our Chihuahuas cover, which is an homage to the movie Jaws, but with a killer
That one's
Chihuahua
awesome.
face. So we've got that one, but it's a black and white one with red blood, and it's phenomenal print. So everybody right now that has backed our project, they're getting one of those. The next one we've got at $2,000 is going to be one of our stickers that has Chihuahua Smalls, which is our very good friend of the project, Victor Irizarry, did an awesome print that looks like the classic Biggie Smalls portrait, where he's got the crown king on, but as a killer Chihuahua. So everybody who backs it up to 2,000 is going to get one of those. We also have, let's see, what's our next one? We've got Jessica Court, who helped us out with our mask one, so it looks like Jason Voorhees. That's going to be at 2,000, or I'm sorry, at 2,250, and then we've got our Fifi sticker, which is issue number 2. That's the poster that we take with us to conventions and stuff. So everybody always likes to take pictures in front of that, and now we're getting a chance to. People can get a sticker of with any purchase of our or any backing of our Kickstarter once we get to 2,500. And then one of my favorite ones is the new cover that we have for issue number 1. It's right there. That is the homage to The Shining, with the Chihuahua coming through the door instead of Jack Nicholson. And so we have a print of that that's going to be ready at 3,000. And
wow.
So it's if you back us at 3,000, you get all of those stretch goals that I just talked about, along with getting to get a copy of issue number 4. So hopefully, if you are on the fence, some of those stretch goals kind of help prompt you forward.
That's really cool stretch goals. Those prints are nice. I mean, the covers are. That's one thing that really caught me when I came across you guys at a show, and that's what really struck my interest and then I saw the covers. I have the issue 1 and 2, the black and white with just the silhouette of the Chihuahua head, and I just saw that it was just like so artistic and so well done, and that's what I think really drew me in. And of course, the story written by you is great as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, just the artwork is just phenomenal.
Yeah, we get a really good reaction to it. I mean, it's like, even if people don't end up picking up a copy of it, I think the artwork gets people's attention, and that's half the battle, because you know how it is. Like, you go to a comic book store, and I do this to everybody does this, but you're looking through the shelves, and sometimes it's not, you're not going to know what the story is to draw you into it unless you've already heard about it. But sometimes you're just browsing, and it's just like, hey, what cover caught my eye? I'm going to reach out, grab it, start flipping through the pages, and if it starts to look like something I'm into, I'll go buy a copy. But that artwork, the cover art, is so critical, so crucial.
Yeah, and you've have a lot of variants, which I like. I like the Kaiju Godzilla Chihuahua. That one's really cool. I think that was for issue 3. So everyone out there, go back them. Go to the link below, or just Google Night of the Chihuahuas. Find them their store and their website. It's really critical that we support independent comic books, and especially ones that tell a great story and have great art. So everyone out there, do it.
Please do. I am personally begging you to please do it. So, it's like you said, man, it's like independent art, man. It's a grind. It's a hustle. And you're really, we're doing it out here. We're not out here because we're trying to make money. If we wanted to make money, we would go get better jobs, but it's like art is something that you love, and it's like we have a product that we really believe in, that it's a story that we wanted to tell, and we think it's worth sharing with everybody else. And so hopefully everybody else agrees, but at the very least, it's like we're offering some fun, some distractions, some interesting things that you can bring up at parties and talk to other people about. So it's a labor of love for sure.
Absolutely. And you're right. It is a grind, and the business part of it, especially for artists or writers, is, at least for me, when I do like part of my photography and other stuff, I hate dealing with the business side of things. So it's just, I want other people to talk about me. I hate having to talk or build myself up. So.
I know I always feel like, too, like artists, like we don't typically have a business mindset. It's like this is not how our brains work. So that part of it sucks, but it's a necessary evil.
It is. So, well, hopefully we'll do our best here at the PopCultX to help support you, because
thank you.
It is such a wonderful series that needs to get more limelight, I guess.
Yeah,
So
we're this is issue 4. There's going to be 5 issues total in this in this first storyline. So after
okay,
this storyline resolves, the current cast of characters that are involved in this, their storyline will resolve after 5 issues. But there is a whole Chihuahua verse, and
yeah.
there is other packs that I don't want to spoil too much about what happened, but there are planned storylines for Beyond. But we're almost there. I mean, it's like this is going to be issue 4. We're going to put out issue 5. We're so close to the finish line on this, getting to tell the complete story and letting everybody
Yeah.
see what ends up happening with the Chihuahuas of San Miguel, as we're calling them, and the survivors right now. It's if you work on stuff like I've got a background in film writing, and so we broke down the story structure based on like the 3 act. Well, 3 act is kind of
Yeah.
standard for any storytelling, but we're right now we're past the midpoint of the story, and we're getting into the dark night of the soul. That's where we're going to end, and then it's going to be issue 5 is just insane. I can't wait. I cannot wait to share that with everybody. Which looks like that's going to happen because we've had so much luck with our Kickstarter. So thank you to everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. As a writer, and you mentioned the Chihuahua verse. Now we're getting a little off topic here from Chihuahuas, but how being that there's been a lot of multiverse storylines come out in the MCU, and now in with the Flash movie, and also with Miles Morales Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So Gabe and I had been having this conversation. Is that kind of played out? So I'm curious to get your opinion on that. How
Good
is the
question.
multiverse concept as we know it? Is it kind of being, oversaturating the market?
All right, so I will say this with the caveat that my favorite movie of the last like 3 years was about the multiverse, and it was not. It was Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, I thought that
Okay.
movie was phenomenal.
It
I
was.
absolutely
Yes.
loved it. The way that they handle the multiverse and how people can change as a result of experiences over many different of these universes where things are also happening in concurrent actions. I think that there's still a lot of opportunity. I don't think that the standard way that we've explored it with, the last Spider-Man, with the upcoming Flash, as I haven't seen it yet, but according to the previews, what they're going for, if it's just going to be to provide fan service, I feel like and it, I feel like it's because the Spider-Man one did so well, had such a great reaction.
Hmm.
Um, Now that you're going to start, everybody's just going to say, "Oh my God, that's what we need to do. We need to bring back all these fan favorite characters from previous movies, and we can do that with the multiverse because they did it with the multiverse." And I do think imitation can be played out very fast, but I don't think that that means that there's no opportunity to tell unique stories that way and compelling stories. I just think that we are going to see, because of course, Hollywood's run by producers, and the producers want to make as much money as they can, no matter
Yeah.
what. So
Hmm.
they're willing to do whatever it takes to get that money. And I think following the success of somebody else is the easiest way to do it. So eventually, that will run itself out. People will revolt with their wallets and just stop buying tickets. And then they're going to shift in another direction. Hopefully, when that happens, that opens up the door for like smaller, more intimate films concerning that to explore these opportunities, because there is a lot of, and it's something that fascinates me, the idea of things that are happening now happening in another way in another universe, and like how
Yeah.
things
Hmm.
turn out different that way. And it's something like I've contemplated a lot, and I think that there's a lot of almost like cosmic horror to be had with it, and I'd like to see more of these types of stories instead of just superhero stories.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. There is a lot other outside of the superhero world. There is a lot of stories that can take place, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, about
Hmm.
these layered universes on top of each other, and how they would, people jump or portal between them. So I think there's a
Yeah.
big opportunity for something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, when we're writers, we're interested in like the human condition and in exploring what it means to be who we are. And a multiverse is like such a great way to do that, because it's like, okay, well, how did I turn out different over here as opposed to how I reacted over here? And
Hmm.
there's a lot of things I would like to be able to do within that realm. But yeah, you're right. It's like as soon as you mention multiverse right now, everybody's like, oh, you mean like what Marvel's doing? And it's like, all right, kind of, but at least it's also getting the idea out there. And so now at least people are familiar with it, as opposed to, 10 years ago when if you said multiverse, people were like,
Uh,
that doesn't sound marketable.
That's true. That is true. Um, I think what did I watch recently? So an older movie with Gwyneth Paltrow called Sliding Doors.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah, that
Uh,
was a good one.
I thought that was, and it's just speaking about what we're saying, how, the whole what if I missed the bus or I missed the
Hmm.
tube, the train like she did. What happens if I got on it, that storyline, that branch, that pathway of my life? Or if I missed it, what happens? How does my life look based upon one certain action? So I think
Yeah.
that's something that can be explored a lot more. And I would like to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, definitely. I love that movie. I thought it was a really good one. The other, and I always come back to also like Back to the Future Part Two, where that was the first one that
Mm,
had like, oh my God, Marty, you created an alternate timeline, and
right.
it's in that situation. I don't know if that really qualifies as a multiverse, but like the alternate, the fact that actions have repercussions that involve that, affect how
Hmm.
things work out down the road. I think is still it's similar. It might not have the same thing is like I think Rick and Morty did a really good job of that over the last few seasons of like kind of really exploring like the implications of how out of control this can get if you just let the threads continue to unravel. I thought that was really cool how they did that. But I think I'm trying to think of anything before Back to the Future Part Two, but that was the first one that I remember seeing where it was like, oh, that's an interesting opportunity to tell some cool stuff.
Yeah, it was. I remember seeing that and it was like, well, okay, that's a different 1985 than when he left. And it's all because of someone from
Mhm.
the future going back in time, which is a different concept, I think, time travel as opposed to a multiverse.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different bag you can or box you can play in, especially as a writer, like you are. Imagine that getting the opportunity for a multiverse versus a time travel story.
Hmm.
um that must be like, ooh, what tricks can I pull out? And what you need to do is just combine the two, right? A multiversal time travel story.
Yes, yes. Which I would argue that's it's Back to the Future Part Two kind of paved that
Yeah.
way for it as well. But I did you ever play the Bioshock video games?
I remember playing, I remember I think I did. I don't recall exactly, but I might be confusing Fallout with
Oh, okay.
BioShock.
But yeah, Bioshock was the undersea world where like
Okay.
basically like it was like this oh god, like it was like this Ayn Randian universe that just went completely off the rails. But it's a great video game. Second one, and not so much, but the third one, Infinite, they kind of get into the multiverse a little bit, and it's a really cool way to do it. And
Nice.
they put the foot off the gas. I think they could have done a lot more with it, but unfortunately, that was also like. God, 15 years ago, I want to say. And so there has not been a sequel since. So I don't think that they're going to continue to explore that.
Is that the one where the cover kind of looks like a stormtrooper helmet in a way, but it's like a darker gray?
Kind of. It's let me see if I can which one? Oh, yeah, the pop. I've got the Funko Pop right up there, but they were called the Big Daddies and they were diving suits. They were like deep sea and then
Okay.
they had a big old drill for an arm and they were like
Oh.
the enforcers that protected these little characters called the Little Sisters that were little adolescent females that were extracting genes from deceased people that they could splice and use on others. So it sounds
Wow.
as I'm saying it out loud, I realize how off the rails that storyline gets. But yeah, but like I said, so the first one is just an undersea. It was supposed to be like this this
Hmm.
libertarian utopia where there were no rules, no government or anybody to tell you what to do, and then of course everybody just went completely
Yeah.
nuts. And then the third one, they still had that same idea, but now you're getting into like how this affects like all these alternate timelines and everything like that.
I see.
It's very
Interesting.
cool.
That's pretty
Spoiler
cool.
alert, I guess, for like a 15-year-old game, but oh well.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we need to worry about that on that.
Yeah.
um, I did see, not a spoiler, but a trailer for an upcoming Spider-Man game. I'm not sure if you saw that part two, the newest Spider-Man game where he's
I
Spider-Man. I guess you could play him as like a symbiote, right? So he has like the Venom powers and whatnot. And it looked really great. I'm not sure how much into video games you are now.
yeah, very much so, still. I don't
Okay,
have as
so
much time don't have as much time anymore to play them, but yeah, I'm still very into them.
what game if you had time, would you currently be playing?
If I had time right now, I will be honest, and I would be playing the Resident Evil 4 remake because I have bought that game I bought it when it first came out. I bought it, I bought it for the
Hmm.
Wii. I bought it for the PlayStation when they ported it over there. I bought it. It's like
Hmm.
it's so funny too because I'll always be like railing against like remakes and reboots, and I'm like, we need more original content, and then I will also bust out the credit card and buy the new a new version of a game that I've played 8 times already. But I
Yeah,
love that
yeah,
series so much, and if Night of the Chihuahuas is very much an homage to Resident Evil. It's got Resident Evil all over it, down
yeah. I
to
can see that. Yeah.
yeah, down to
Mm-hmm.
the hero's name
Mm-hmm.
being Leon. I mean, it's
Yeah.
almost a ripoff, but it's not a ripoff.
It's not.
But that game, I haven't had a chance to play it yet because I just don't have time. I've got like a backlog of games, and so I'll make my way to Resident Evil 4 remake. But right now, I'm playing a game called the Callisto Protocol. That's
Oh, okay.
it's like a horror sci-fi game. It's all right. It's got Josh Duhamel, which I think is infinitely amusing as the lead actor. So I've no idea why they decided to actually cast like an actor in that role. I'm like, okay. But it's all right. The controls are a little bit clunky, but storyline seems to be pretty standard. Like so you're on a space station on like a moon somewhere, and something goes bad, and all these like gory
Okay.
creatures come attacking you. So I'm a big horror fan, so I tend to play horror games.
Have you played a game called The Quarry?
Yeah. Okay. No, I have not played The Quarry. I have. I like that studio though that does that. So I
Mm-hmm.
loved Until Dawn.
Until
I
Dawn was great.
liked.
Yeah.
Yeah, Until Dawn was awesome. I liked a lot of the Man from Medan series. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were much better than others. So
Yeah.
very much looking forward to playing that one as well.
It is fun. I got it when the thing came out last year or whatever. And it's a lot of fun. I like the filters that they put on there. So you can have like a nostalgic black and white horror film. You can
Oh,
have a
cool.
70s filter horror film, or even an 80s horror film. So they look more similar to that style. But it's a different take on a werewolf situation, which I appreciate. So it's really good. I
Very
suggest
cool.
you play it, especially since
Uh,
you like horror films.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that it's if I remember right, like I read somewhere that that's only like a 15-hour game or so, which nowadays that's I'm steering more towards. I'm like, how long is your game? Is it under 20 hours? Deal. I'll absolutely love to play it. But when I was
the
younger, man, I used to like the longer the better. I was like, it's an open world game
Yeah.
that'll take me 80 hours. I can't wait. Nowadays, I just don't have time, unfortunately. I've got so much other stuff going on. I've got kids and a lot of other projects I'm trying to write. And I'm like, every minute that I spend playing video games, as much fun as I'm having, I've always got this thing in the back of my mind. It's like, you should be writing.
Yeah. I hear you. I know completely what you mean. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like I want to play games, but I also have all these XYZ projects I need to do.
Hmm.
So then I'll just go back and I'll play my baseball game and I'll just zone out for a while.
There you go. But it's also important. Like you have to make time for that and you have to be able to relax because if you're just
Yeah,
constantly trying to work on projects, you get burned out doing that too. So it's
that
a
is true.
balance.
It is. It is. And the good thing about the query, real quick, if you want, they have like a movie mode. So you could just watch like the whole storyline. You basically choose at the beginning,
Ooh.
like, do you want everyone to survive or everyone to die? So they play through all the
Oh,
cutscenes so you
that's
can watch
awesome.
like a movie basically.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. So I just watched that after I beat the game once. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to go back and I'm not a completionist per se, but I
Hmm.
do like seeing a lot of the stuff that I might have missed. So,
Oh, that's
the
cool.
branching options of did you take this? Did you take that? So it's a really
Yeah.
cool mode. I really like that.
Nice. I did get a platinum on Until Dawn. So that one I did get like because I liked it so and it was such a novelty because that was the first
Hmm.
game that was really like that. And
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
horror fanatic, it was like just everything that I wanted. And so I did once I beat it the first time, I went right back and I just kept replaying it. And I was having fun doing it. And then eventually I was like, oh, I could if I do it a few more times, I can get a platinum trophy. So I might as
Yeah.
well.
And also it has Rami Malek in it, right? And he's just
Yep.
phenomenal. So it
Yep.
was really cool.
It has Rami Malek. It has what was that lady's
I
name?
think Hayden Christensen, is that her
Hayden
name?
Hayden
Yeah.
Panettiere.
Panettiere.
And
Christensen's the other guy.
yeah, and then it has the girl. I forgot the actress's name, but she was in Superstore for its entire
Mm-hmm.
run, and so it was funny because it actually had like really good actors
Yeah.
doing the roles. So yeah,
Yeah, that
very
was
enjoyable game.
and the Quarry also has some good actors in it as well. I mean,
So I had David Arquette, right?
David Arquette, yes, he just plays one of the main sheriff guys. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. But enough
Nice man.
about the
Well,
Quarry.
I might have to bump that one up now that we've talked about it so much. So
And yeah, I mean, it's a good summer, campy popcorn type game. So it's
mhm.
not going to be too scary, so you can get the kids involved with it, make these choices and whatnot.
Oh, nice. Oh, my daughter would love. My daughter's 13, and she's like all into horror, and I'm having to like really steer her because she, of course, as a kid does, she keeps wanting to go to like the most extreme stuff she can find, and I'm very much like putting the brakes on that, and I'm like, I did that. That's what happened to me. Is I got into horror that was way too extreme for I wasn't mature enough to fully grasp what was happening and stuff, and it didn't do me any favors. So I'm not letting her do that. But like anytime we can find stuff that's like I let her watch Monster Squad. We let her watch like Army of Darkness and some of the other movies that are not. I did not let her watch the Evil Dead movies, but she did watch Army of Darkness. But like
Oh yeah, yeah.
things like that. Then I'm like, all right, cool.
I remember Monster Squad. Goodness, yeah.
Monster Squad, dude. 80s movies. The PG meant something way different back then.
It
Like
did.
this movie, I was like almost shocked because I watched it with her, and I don't know when the last time you saw it was, but like they dropped like homophobic slurs left and right,
Oh wow,
and then
really?
they're peeping on like
Oh
the
wow.
dude's sister, and they've got like they show the picture, and granted she's got her back to it and everything, so it's chase, but it's also like, and then at one point they say like the girl, they have to get a virgin to read the thing, and then
Hmm.
the sister, like the spell fails, and they're like, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I didn't think oral counted." And my daughter's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, it
You're like
was."
having to explain
And I'm like a PG for a PG movie,
right.
I was like,
Oh my
"Oh
goodness. I don't
man,
remember that. I just remember
yep,
like werewolf has nads.
yep." Oh, that one was a big hit. That line still hits.
Yeah, that does.
It's a great movie, but it's also like you go back, you watch some of those '80s movies that are PG, and you're just like, "Oh yeah, PG meant something way different back then."
Yeah, yeah. That is funny. Now, what for you growing up horror films did you said you got into the extreme. So like what was like the did it scare you or just more like interest you, intrigue you? What do you think?
It was a little bit of both. I was like 7 years old, and my uncle, I have no idea what he was thinking, but he showed me Dawn of the Dead, like the George Romero
Mm-hmm,
one.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, the ending is like this very gory, very over the top, like carnage in a shopping mall. And I mean, people
Yeah.
are getting like ripped apart and their entrails are like, getting yanked and everything. And I remember like as a kid, I just was like, what is going on? But like, you know what it was is that when I told people because I was fascinated by it, but I was also a little scared, didn't quite know what to make of it. But then when
Mm-hmm.
I would tell people about it, like everybody would like freak out. And I remember I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool reaction. So then it got me into like, writing these stories. And I went to like Catholic school, and the nuns would call my parents and be like, hey, your son is like writing those stories and telling the kids again. Because it was like I loved making people frightening people, I
Yeah.
loved that. And so in one way it is like very responsible for guiding me down that path, but at the other
Mm-hmm.
point I do think it was irresponsible to show a kid who's just not ready for that level of violence. And it was definitely inured me to a lot of the forms of violence and stuff that I should have been more appalled by. But then it was like when you start at Dawn of the Dead, it's hard to top that, really. It still is.
Yeah, and it kind of, and I think a lot of kids today, I don't have kids yet, but I think a lot of kids, just basing on like my nieces and nephews, are really desensitized when it comes to horror films.
Hmm.
And because for me, I never have been scared of horror films. Just I'm too, I guess, I like to think I'm too not pragmatic, but just like I analyze it all and like, okay, that's just a film. I know it's not real and whatnot.
Yep.
And except for one film, and that was when I was younger. I saw American Werewolf in London,
Oh,
and
that's it. Yep. The
that one,
transformations, right?
yeah, that one scared the bejesus out of me until I saw it again recently as an adult, and I was like, why was I scared of this?
It doesn't hold up well, but the effects are still really good.
Yeah, 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 that's true. The effects were really good, especially at the time,
Yeah.
and the practical effects there. They didn't have, of course, CGI or computer graphics then,
Hmm.
so yes, but it was just something
I
else.
Yeah, I absolutely love practical effects. Like we went and
Hmm.
saw The Thing, the 1980s one, just recently, and it's like, dude, those effects hold up so well. And they might be like a little cheesy at parts, but I will take that over CGI any day because
Yeah.
CGI just takes me out of a movie. And I think it becomes a crutch where like filmmakers will be like, "Oh my God, I can just do this entire thing in CGI and we could show everything." And I'm like, but part of what made it work was that you couldn't show everything, was that you
Yeah.
did have to
Hmm.
let the audience formulate, fill in the missing pieces and stuff, or it was scarier because we didn't see too much of it, kind of thing. And I just think it's like you're putting some PlayStation graphic out there, and it's just like, okay, well, I didn't. It just makes me. It just looks like a computer graphic. Doesn't look like a cool monster, But I don't
That's
know. It's
true.
just me.
I mean, it CGI does have its place, I think, when used in tandem with practical effects. So
Hmm.
like to help amplify maybe an effect that was done. And I think I can't recall what director was talking about this, but he was talking about that very thing where you want to make it practically, but then use CGI to enhance it. So I
Yeah.
thought that was like the right way to go. I mean, if you can, I always like as a photographer, like I like to get it right in camera, right? Not
Hmm.
have to worry about doing it afterwards in post and fixing it there. So I think that's the same mindset that I would go into if I was filming a horror film. I
For
would
sure.
want to get it done right in the camera practically and just, airbrush it up a little bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's definitely a place for CGI. And I think, like going back to like what we were talking about with the Marvel movies earlier and stuff, it's like
Hmm.
a lot of these movies, the CGI is phenomenal and it really
Yeah.
like keeps you into the thing. But I think
Yeah.
the thrill of a horror movie, I think that's I don't think CGI lends itself well to that because it's horror should be a visceral reaction. Horror should be something that
Hmm.
you are very much connecting with. And I think the point of CGI is that CGI is like spectacle. Is like here's something that
Yeah, that's true.
we could never do
Hmm.
this in camera, so we are going to do CGI. And it's like if you're using that for horror, I think at that point you're starting to lose like, well, if it's something that I can't see or that I couldn't touch, then why am I afraid of it? Or why is it,
Exactly. That's a
you know,
great point. That's a very good. I mean, yeah, if it can't be accomplished in real life. I shouldn't be afraid of it because it's not really there,
yep.
right? So I guess well, that also leads to like the spiritual or not spiritual, but like ghost type of horror films and demonic horror films. I mean, are those real? Can they happen in real life?
Right. And
I
if the ghost turns out to be this like splotchy looking computer graphic, that is like, oh, okay, well that's not. I mean, my absolute favorite ghost movie is a movie called The Orphanage. Which have you ever seen that one, the
mm,
Spanish one?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I highly recommend it. But yeah, all everything that they do in there is practical, and it's like I think there
Oh,
might
really?
be
Okay.
one. I think there might be like one or two shots that are CGI, but like it is creepy and ominous because it's like it's an orphanage, so it's the ghosts of the
Mm-hmm.
children that live there, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's like they just have like these creepy kids lingering in the background of a frame, and like and then of course the heroine turns around and they're gone, and it's so stinking effective. And I always think about one of the worst ghost movies I ever saw was the original, not original, but it came out in like the '90s, the version of of the Haunting of Hill House, I think, where it
Yeah.
was Jan de Bont who had done Speed, and he just like cranked the CGI up in this, and it was like all of a sudden these ghosts were like, having their jaws distend and like flying around
Mm-hmm.
hallways, and it's just like you see so much of it. It's just goofy. It's just like, all right, well, that's not scary at all. I mean, okay, but it was also like going for more of like a spectacle film of like we want to make this a blockbuster hit, and that's why we're having the guy that did Speed, but it just lost me.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I think when you mention movies like that, I think of the Michael J. Fox scary movie. I think it was called like Frighteners, and
Yes, yes,
that was
Peter
like
Jackson.
very yeah, very
Hmm.
CGI heavy, very for the ghosts and whatnot. So
Yeah. That one, what's funny is that Peter Jackson got to do Lord of the Rings because at the time Frighteners had the most number of CGI on screen, like individual elements. And I guess that was one
oh,
of the things when
okay,
he pitched uh, Lord of the Rings, he was like, "Hey, by the way, I set up a whole workshop to create all this, and we have experience doing this, and this is how I would apply it to Lord of the Rings." And they were like, "Wow, you got it."
that's cool. I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about speaking of Lord of the Rings, of them wanting to remake the original trilogy that Peter Jackson did?
I'm not a fan, and I'm mostly not a fan because I don't know what can you bring new to it that he didn't. I mean, granted, he did have to cut, and he had like three very long movies, and he still had to cut
Hmm.
out a lot of the books. I don't
Hmm.
think those parts of the books that he cut are like I don't think you could say like, hey, we're gonna make a new movie and we're gonna include all of that stuff because there's a reason that a lot of it was left off, and even some of those
Yeah.
sequences from the books I really liked, but it worked for the movie that was made. I guess theoretically, like, giving a new director letting them take their vision, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think what's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
is when you make a movie this big, you're making it to get a return. And so if you're going to get a
Yeah.
return, you have to appeal to the widest possible audience and across the globe. You have to appeal to a global audience. And so I don't think at that point you're really allowing a filmmaker to bring like a unique artistic vision to it. I think at that point you're just trying to get more, hey, remember this, cashing in on nostalgia and
Yeah.
offering
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
more CGI. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't get it. I didn't think that the Lord of the Rings TV show is doing very well either from a financial point of view because Amazon sunk so much money
They
into
did.
it
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, if that's not if that's not like, doing gangbusters and getting you all the returns that you want, I don't know why you would think making a 10-hour epic,
Yeah.
sci-fi fantasy or not sci-fi, fantasy epic is going to do it either. But I mean,
I
I don't know.
mean,
What do I know?
I watched the first episode of Rings of Power and it didn't hook me in. So
Mhm.
maybe I need to go back and watch more of it, but I just didn't get invested in the characters at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Yeah,
if,
I had the same problem, and
okay.
it's too bad because I knew some people. Not like I'm friends with them or anything, but like some of the writers were people who's fans of their work, and so I'd be
Hmm.
curious to know how much of that was, the studio had a set thing of like we're going to do this, this, this in order to, once again appeal to the widest possible thing instead of saying, here are people who understand Tolkien's work inside and out and think that they have new something to add to it kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
just it just didn't do anything for me. And I knew that it was super expensive and being a fan of Lord of the Rings, I kind of wanted to see what they could do with it, but it was pretty clear from the first few episodes. I was just like, it's just not for me. And my time is too, there's too much content out there that
Yeah.
if I know some things, I no longer am a I used to be like, hey, if I start it, I'm gonna finish it. I no longer have that because there's just too much out there. And I'm like, even with the video games, sometimes like 2 hours in, I'll be like, well, it's just not doing it for me. So time to
Hmm.
move on.
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of stuff out there. So we do have to pick and choose what we invest our time with. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, that is up to the studios or production houses to get the best writers possible, to get the best directors, and not just call them creators. I think one of the
Oh
streaming
my
platforms
God,
now
right?
is just terming it creators, which I think is
Yeah.
very, very, it's a big disservice to those people, to the director, the writer. They need to
Hmm.
get their own accolades, not just lump them all together as a creator.
Yeah, well, and the thing is too is at that point now you're trying to make this like a YouTube short. Like that's the thing is that
Yeah, that's true.
the big thing is like these content creators and they've got like 200 million subscribers and they're making all this money and now the studios are all chasing that because
Hmm.
they're like, well, these guys are making money. We need to figure out what they're doing. And it's like they're making money because they're putting out like funny little skits that only last like a blink and then the kids can scroll right past it to the next one. It's like they're not creating art. They don't have a story to tell or a philosophy that they want to share with people or they don't have like a unique perspective on a established topic or something like that. It's like they are just I mean, I don't want to demean their work because they are putting in a lot of time to
Hmm.
create this content. But that's the thing is that they're creating content. They're not creating art. They're not creating, something that is unique to them. They're creating something that is molded into this, social kind of hive mind thing that everybody is looking for at that time. And it's
Yeah.
like they just happen to be able to ride that wave. And I just, I so I understand that the studios are doing this because they want to chase the profit. They want to say, well,
Hmm. Hmm.
once again, where's the financial success happening? Because we're spending all this money and we're not, we don't have the revenues that we used to. But it just makes me wonder if like any of these guys, like, or any of these people ever came up in that system where they were like, this is why we're here. We're here to tell these
Right.
amazing stories and change
Hmm.
people's lives and affect, global mindsets instead of following the global mindsets, instead of trying to chase that revenue stream.
Yeah.
And I think it's a problem that is happening throughout the world in many industries, but it's like, the bean counters took power instead of supporting the artist. Now all of a sudden it's like
Exactly.
the artist
Hmm.
answering to the bean counters, and it's like, what can we do to monetize this and to monetize this as much as possible instead of saying, how can we support these artists who have a story to tell and hopefully we're going to make tons of money because their story is that interesting and, appeals to a certain niche market or enough of a niche market instead of saying it appeals to everybody and we're going to make this fun for, no matter who you are and where you are in the world, we're gonna take your money kind of thing. And it's kind of depressing, but
Yeah.
I don't know how it changes either.
Right. No, you're right. And it is, and unfortunately, it is what the youth are watching, right? And that's what they're growing up in knowing is that, oh, a 1 minute clip, go to the next one, go to the next one. So they're not really engrossing themselves with, like you said, world changing art
Yeah.
or stuff like that. So because they're just so used to these 1 minute, 3 minute little clips that they get a laugh and move on to the next one.
Yep.
So yeah, how do we change that as artists, I guess, who aren't, so we don't have to rely on these big production houses who are only looking at the dollar signs and, like you said, following the dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's frustrating too because like I see with my son is like he loves YouTube. And we have to really monitor it. We have to
Mm-hmm.
really watch what he's doing because you can fall down these idiotic rabbit holes so quickly. But it's like, yeah, the same thing. You just constantly just like click, click, click. Here's the next video, next video, next video. Sometimes he doesn't even watch the whole thing. He just gets the first laugh and then moves on because he wants to see what the next one is, kind of thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
we're at the end. I don't know, man. I don't want to sound like too much of a grumpy old man, but we are Gen X. We are reaching that point. We are now becoming that, kind of bitter. I mean, we've always been bitter. That's what made us who we are. But it's like, it's just like, you're kind of like, people's attention spans are shrinking so much. And now it's like, you're telling people that they have to appeal to that. You have to appeal to, somebody who's going to click next in a few minutes. And it's just, it's not, it's a little frustrating. It's challenging, and there can be greatness from that challenge. You can rise up and say, okay, well, let's figure out the best way to handle this. But it is also, I don't know, like I said, sometimes just sitting back and watching it, it's like, okay, this guy's got 16 million views on his basically making a fart noise for 30 seconds. It just feels like that scene in Idiocracy where like everybody's watching that movie Ass, and like it won Academy Awards and stuff. What is going on? I don't get this.
Yeah, but I think I want us to end this episode on a happy note.
All right.
So let me ask you this: what's the last series, show, movie, something that really sparked some joy in you?
Okay, so right now, and I've been camping, so I don't even actually. Maybe you can tell me: did Yellow Jackets have its season premiere yet?
Not sure. I haven't watched Yellow Jackets, so I'm not sure.
Oh, dude, you gotta watch this.
That's what I hear.
God, I love this show so much. So this is the show that like I am waiting for all week. All week I'm thinking about it, and I'm going on the Reddit, and I'm like, did people notice this clue? Did people? Because the whole the story, right? It's like the female soccer team in high school. Yeah, they crash landed in the Canadian Rockies. They weren't found for like 2 years. And then over the course of those 2 years, a lot happened. And then it picks up like 20 years later with the survivors as adults, and like how the ramifications of what happened in the wilderness kind of following them then. But then like since the crash happened in the 1990s, so it has like so much 90s nostalgia.
That's what I hear.
It's the soundtrack is amazing. It's really good. And then but beyond that though, like I don't want to give too much away, but like in the first few minutes of the first episode, you could see that, these girls basically formed a cult while they were out there. And so that part of it, like the storytelling that they do for like how they get to that point is just, it's so cool. And it's nostalgic, but the storylines are amazing. The acting is all top notch. And it's sad. It's kind of heartbreaking, but it's also like really funny and really violent and really just, it's got like such a funny mindset of like, I can't think of many other shows like that are this just from scene to scene. They're going between all kinds of different genres and doing it and pulling it off really well.
Right on. Yeah, I think Gabe told me he watched it, that I should watch it because what you just said of the 90s nostalgia, but also the great acting and everything else involved with it. So I guess I'll have to watch it somehow, go get Showtime
highly recommend it,
for a trial and watch it real quick. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, is that there's so many damn streaming services, right? That you're constantly like, okay, how do I get a membership to here without having to get, after a few months, I'll cancel and get it over here so I can binge this show. And people keep telling me to watch Succession. I'm like, I don't have Showtime. They're like, well, you need to get it for this. I'm like, okay, I'll cancel one of my other like 8 subscription services I got. One of these days I'll get to that one. I've also heard though that's like, people have told me what it's about, and I'm like, I don't know how much I can watch like rich people being terrible to each other and be engaged, because it's like with everything going on in the world right now, that's one of those topics that it would have to be. Maybe I watched like the first season. I'm like, oh my God, this show's amazing because I've heard nothing but good things about it. But I'm also like, at the end of the day, I don't want to watch like that's just not my thing. Like I need to watch something other than like rich people ruining people's lives, because we got too much of that right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I'll make a recommendation for you then. If you have Apple TV, watch Severance.
Yes, I loved Severance. And
you saw that fantastic show. Yeah.
Yep, I absolutely loved it. I'm very upset, and I stand with the Writers Guild of America, but I'm also like, oh man, it sucks that season 3 is now like being pushed back and back and back, because not just because of the Writers Guild, I also had read some stuff about, like, I guess the showrunners like basically butted heads and are having to like figure out a way to work apart from each other, which that's heartbreaking to hear, because it's such a cool show. It has so much mystery, and like I really want to know what happened. I have no idea where it's going, and I love that.
Yeah, it's a really great show. I'm looking. Hopefully, they'll get it squared away, because I want to see more of that. I mean, show and ending from. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, Barry is ending, which is on HBO, and this is its last season. And like, I don't know if you've watched that one at all.
I haven't seen that. I've heard good things, and I'm a big fan of the main actor.
Bill Hader.
Yeah,
he's directing this season. His directing is like just stellar. It is so like beautiful. Like his composition, the way that he stages his shots, the way that he like edits these sequences together. It's like the first episode, I was like, this is amazing. Who the hell directed this? And it's like directed by Bill Hader. It's like, what? That's awesome. Man, he's doing such a good job. It's really like visually just amazing to watch it. Like he stages these action sequences that are hilarious, but they're also like really cool, like really visually stimulating. And then something stupid will happen, and you're just like, oh, yep. That's Saturday Night Live right there. All right.
Right on.
Yeah, you said that I interrupted you.
Oh, no worries. I just started last night. American Born Chinese on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay. Is that a good one?
It is really good. It has like I don't know if you remember a movie called Forbidden Kingdom with Jackie Chan, and it has those kind of vibes to it.
Nice.
So it's it's a coming of age story about a teenage American born Chinese and how he has to deal with his parents and navigate that world. But it also has the mystical stranger coming in and how that person is also the son of like a god and has to deal with his parents and cool. his path. So it's really fun. I watched the first episode last night, and I enjoyed it immensely.
And since it's on Disney Plus, so I got to assume it's like a family show that you could watch with your kids and stuff.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm always looking for those. So, because there's lots of times the kids are like, let's watch something. And I do not want to watch the same, an episode of Bunked again for like the 80th time. So I'm always looking for something that we can all watch together that will appeal to all of us. So
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it is. It is a family friendly show, and it is like I said, coming of age story. So it deals with a lot of, teenage angst, not angsty, like, euphoria angsty, but deals with like teenage, the trials that they go through and how they overcome them as teenagers. So especially since your kids, you said, are 13 and whatnot, and so they're going to be getting into that pretty soon. So
don't remind me.
A training guide for you how to deal with them.
There you go. Nice.
So yeah, that's what I've been watching. Just anyone out there, if you guys have any recommendations, leave us a comment. Let us know what shows David should show his children or can enjoy with his children.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say good family time that are not just for kids or not just for adults. So like what's something that like the whole family can come together and watch. I'm always looking for those.
Excellent. Well, David, thanks for joining us again. We really appreciate it. It was great talking with you in depth about a lot of other things outside of Night of the Chihuahua. But also, everyone out there, go support Night of the Chihuahua because it is such a great story. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. So make sure you go to the link down below, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks again, David.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. It was awesome hanging out.
Bye, everyone.